everybody, what's going on? I am so excited today because not only am I reviewing one of my favorite Comix Tribe books, but it's a comic that is in basically the top 3 of my favorite comics of all time that I've ever read. It's called The Standard. Now, a little backstory on The Standard before I get into the review. The Standard was originally a scientist named Gilbert Graham who was working in his laboratory one night when it's hit by a meteor. And meteor particles plus chemicals equals superhero. He has a sidekick slash ward named Fabulad, also known as Alex Thomas, who eventually gets the mantle of the Standard when Gilbert retires. And how they met was one night when Gilbert's driving home many years ago. A little boy wanders out into the street. Gilbert slams on his brakes. He walks up to the boy, asks him if he's okay, and you see that he's just bleeding from the gut. And you later find out that it's his stepfather that's been abusing him. Well, Gilbert's afraid that ambulances aren't going to get there soon enough, so he's been working on a formula to replicate his powers. Well, he gives that to Alex. Now, it heals Alex and gives him powers, but they're only temporary. So Alex basically has to take shots. And after this happens, and he learns all the horrible stuff that this boy's stepfather's done, because comics, he adopts him. And that's a little backstory on that. Now, I'm not going to be doing this entire book because I can go on for hours about this, so I'm going to give you like the first little story arc that's in it. It opens up, and this is something really cool. Whenever it goes and flashes back to the past, it is old school campy comic. I think it's great. But it opens up with the Standard and Fabulad going to fight their arch nemesis Zachary Zarthos, who's got a plan to take over Sky City once again, and they have to foil him. It skips to the present, and you see that Alex, now as the Standard, is apprehending some guy that's been selling cocaine or crack or something to grandmothers, some kind of drug. And right before he's about to fly off, you hear a cut. Well, Alex has a film crew with him there, because now he is a corporate-sponsored superhero, has a reality show and everything. The corporate guys that are filming, the TV crew that's filming is like, hey, you didn't say a punchline, where's the punchline? And Alex basically goes, well, how's this for a punchline? Gives him the finger and flies off. Well, his PR guy is being talked to by these camera guys, but like, what's going on? And he goes, well, I'll find out. His name's Bill Finney. So Bill puts on these rocket boots, starts flying after him, says, hey, I'm not real comfortable up here, can we talk? Well, he goes, yeah, let me just drop this guy off at jail. So they go to a diner, and Alex is upset because he made a promise to a little girl named Amy Harris, her mother, that he would find her. And it's been a month and he hasn't been able to find her yet. He's like, all these powers and I can't find one little girl. I promised that mother that I would find her. And Finney's kind of a sleazeball, and he tells him, you're here for PR and, stunts that they can catch on TV. He goes, leave the investigative work to the cops and, characters like the Corpse. Now, real quick, the Corpse, if the Standard is the Superman in this universe, every Superman needs his Batman. And that's kind of how the Corpse is. The Corpse to me is like a big amalgamation of 4 different characters, 2 DC, 2 Marvel. From DC side, of course, Batman and the Spectre. And from the Marvel side, the Hood and Punisher. This guy to me is not really a hero, even though they say anti-hero. He to me, he's more like a villain that happens to do good every once in a while. And more on him later. He's awesome. He's an awesome character. I love the character. But after the talk, you see 2 boys in an alleyway, and they see a puppy, and they decide, they're going to try to follow this puppy, because it looks scared. But kids don't kids don't really realize, hey, it's a scared puppy, let's not chase it. But they end up following it down into a sewer, or near the edge of a sewer, or something like that. Something in an alleyway. I know they end up in a sewer, basically. And there's this just raggedy man, just long hair, crooked teeth, yellow eyes, and he just starts saying children, 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 children over and over and over again. And then it kind of fades to black. Then after that, you see Alex is on a talk show, and the talk show host is asking him questions and telling him, you know, how great everybody thinks he is. And Alex decides, you know what, this is the perfect opportunity. And he goes, well, if you all adore me so much, I need your help. And he pulls out the photo of Amy Harris, and he says, put your cameras on this. I need help finding this girl. If anybody has any information, please go to the police. And the announcer, the host kind of just blows it off. Yeah, how great is he? And then he asks, well, how's this superhero? So after the interview, you see Alex come home, and you hear a voice say, I've been waiting for you, Standard. Now, you never see what this is right off the bat. It's just an outline of a figure, and the parts that you do see are the hands, and they're really deformed. So it's some kind of creature. And he just starts beating on Alex, just room to room. Like it's a horrible beating. But what's interesting is in between these panels, they're going back to the old style comic. The comic style of, you know, the old campy comics, like at the beginning of the book. It's intercut with scenes of them in the past fighting Zarthos. Well, right before Alex takes his last breath, he sees the picture of Amy. He says, I'm sorry. And this creature proceeds to rip his head off. I mean, clean off his body. It's the craziest thing. It fades to black there. Well, the next scene that you see was what I was talking about at the beginning, is how Alex and Gilbert met when Gilbert found him in the road. It skips back to the future, and now we see a balding, kind of, I want to say he's about 70, maybe a little older. Gilbert standing in a class that I'm pretty sure it's a junior high science class. And, you know, the students are kind of whispering behind his back, well, I hear he can shoot fire from his eyes and do all this. And Gilbert's like, well, sadly enough, I can't do any of that, but I still have super hearing. And he goes, you know, I guess it's the beginning of the school year, because he's like, I like to give all my new classes pop quizzes. You know, are there any questions? And every student raises his hand, and he goes, any questions that aren't about the standard? Now, you find out the reason that all these kids know this is because when Alex went corporate, he unmasked himself and Gilbert. So he and Gilbert are not on speaking terms, because Gilbert's still angry that he wasn't asked about being unmasked. But he's also like, you know, all the corporate sponsorships, and he just doesn't feel like he's living up to his potential. He doesn't feel that, you know, Alex is living up to his potential. Well, while they're still talking, the principal and police show up at the school. Or the principal brings the police into the classroom, and they pull Gilbert outside, and you don't hear what they say, but all of a sudden you just see Gilbert hit the ground and he's sobbing, because they've just told him that Alex was murdered. So Gilbert goes to the funeral, and he happens to notice the daughter of Zachary Zarthos, Xena, is at the funeral. Zarthos Industries was one of Alex's biggest sponsors. So she's there paying her respects. Bill shows up and starts talking to to Gilbert about Alex, and he's just saying some really crass and rude things like, oh yeah, they were together, that was his lover, all this other stuff, and Gilbert finally says, you know what, you need to leave me alone before I punch you in the face. And this is right before Bill reaches into his pocket to grab something. You don't see what it is, or you do see what it is, but Gilbert doesn't. He doesn't care. He just leaves. So fast forward to the next day, and he decides he's going to go question Xena Zarthos. Shows up at her company, and she says, my father's told me so much about you. And he's like, yeah, I bet. And Xena's angry. She goes, I've spent my whole life trying to build the Zarthos name back up. And she really has. It's not just a cliche. She really is trying to do good in the world. Because it's her name has cost her jobs and colleges and all these other things. So much so that she started her own company because people wouldn't hire her because of her father. She's brilliant. She starts her own company. And that's how she gets to Alex. Well, Gilbert basically asks, so were you two involved? And she said, no. Bill probably told you that, right? He goes, well, yes. He goes, no, we weren't involved like that, but we were friendly enough to each other. Like, we respected each other, kind of that thing. And Gilbert says, well, do you have any idea who might have wanted to do this? And she goes, of course, the corpse. And the corpse was the character I was talking about earlier that's like the Batman. She goes, well, let me tell you something that happened last year. And it's her talking to her accountant about something. And they're just kind of jabbing away. And next thing you see is blam, and the guy's head explodes. And it kind of goes over, and you see the corpse standing there with a sniper rifle. And he goes, he was embezzling money from you. You're welcome. Like, I laughed just the way he was just nonchalantly like, you're welcome. So Gilbert gets done speaking with her, and he goes home. Well, Bill Finney is standing on his porch. And he goes, I was trying to talk to you the other day about something, but I thought maybe I'd just visit you at your lovely home. And right when he goes to say home, Gilbert makes good on his word and just socks him. Like, not hard enough to kill him, of course, but I mean, he knocks him out of into a sidewalk. He hits him hard. He flies. And finally, Bill's like, this is all I was trying to do. And he pulls the picture of Pam Harris, or I'm sorry, not Pam. Pam's the mother. Amy Harris out of his pocket. And like, this is Amy Harris. She's 9 years old. She's been missing for over a month. This is the last thing Alex was trying to do before he was killed. So, after sitting around a while and thinking about it, Gilbert finally pulls his old standard costume out of the closet. He goes looking around and ends up in an alleyway and sees that the sewer cover has been taken off. He climbs down there, and there's this creepy little girl speaking really strangely to him, like, if you've come to find me, it's this way. And so he walks down a little farther, and there's two other little boys, same creepiness, I mean, yellow eyes, it's weird. And they basically say, well, you must be looking for the Piper. And that's the name of this character, is the Piper. And they lead him into basically a throne room. This guy's sitting on a throne, and he's just got hundreds of kids around him. And basically what he can do is he gets into their minds, and he can control them and obviously speak through them. So the standard goes to have words with them, and he has the children attack the standard while he gets away. Well, as much as Gilbert does not want to, he has to hit these kids so he can get to Piper. So he does this. You don't really see it, but he tells the Piper, he didn't want to do this, but he had to. He finds the Piper, knocks him down, says, "Did you take this girl?" And he's like, "Who's that, your girlfriend?" So Gilbert hits him again, and he goes, "Okay. There's a room I have because once I get a hold of the children's mind, there's no getting out of it. But there's a few I can't break, or it takes longer to break. They're in this place called the cleaning room. Gilbert turns around to go find it. Piper pulls out a knife, tries to stab him, and he just knocks him clean out. He goes to the cleaning room, finds the two boys from earlier, rips the cage open, asks them, "Hey, is there a little girl in here? Have you seen this girl?" And they're like, "I think she's in the other room, but she hasn't made a sound in a few days." Gilbert goes in there, fades to black. The next thing you see is her mother, Pamela Harris, doing an interview on TV at their home, and she's really upset, and they basically have asked her, "Well, now with Alex Thomas gone, what does that mean for you? What does that mean for Amy?" And she goes, "With Alex gone, what do you think that means?" And right when she says that, someone from outside says, "Hey, look over here," or "Look over there," something along those lines. And she walks outside, and you see the Standard gliding down, and he hands her daughter. He found her. She's returned. He says, "The Standard made you a promise, and the Standard never forgets his promises." And he turns to walk away, and he's thinking about those words, because I really think he's thinking about Alex at this point. And the camera crews and everything, I'm like, oh my God, it's the Standard, he's back. And Gilbert turns around and gives a weak smile, tears in his eyes, and a thumbs up. And that's where I'm going to end this review, because like I said earlier, I can go on forever about this book. Now, the one problem that I have, this is the only problem that I have, is I need more stories in this universe. Give me a Standard back in the day, even if it's the old campy style. I love that. Some of the other villains in this book are hilarious. Give me a few books with, Alex's time as the Standard. Give me a Xena Zarthos story, but more than all that, what I would love is a collection of the corpse. Because what happens to the corpse at the end of that book is just... Don't stop! Just kidding, I'm not going to spoil it for anybody. But I will say this, when it gets to that third to the last page and you see the corpse, I have so many questions. Please, John Lees and crew and Comix Tribe, if y'all were to put an ultimate collection, I'm going to show you this thing. If y'all were to put an ultimate collection of the corpse like this, I need to know the lore. Y'all put that on Kickstarter, I am first day on it, just like I was with the Red 10 Volume 2. The corpse, I need to know the lore of this character. I need to know more about this character. That's the only thing that upset me, was this was the only comic he's ever shown up in. I need more. But that's going to do it for me today. Thanks for listening to this almost 20-minute rapid review. I just love this book so much. If you ever get a chance to read it, do so. I don't know if Comix Tribe still has it on their site, if there's a way to get it. But if you get a chance to read it, please read it and let me know if you love this thing as much as I do. As always, I've been Jay. We'll see you next time. Later.